we currently witnessing the end of Tor, the end of a dynasty, the end of anonymity? I hope not. Now, you may have seen back in 2018 when the FBI ratcheted things up. 4th District Court, Virginia. Let me set the scene. FBI goes into court, says, hey, we used a bunch of malware to maliciously collect a bunch of information. Judge says, you know what? It's cool because entrapment laws don't apply to the internet. And this brings in Operation War on Tor. So this is pretty interesting and unfortunate. There is some good news, so you're going to want to buckle up and watch the end of this video because we're going to break down whether or not you still should use Tor and what you should be looking at if you do use it. Now, Tor is a fan favorite anonymity tool. A lot of people will say, well, wasn't it made by the military? Yes, for journalists abroad, for communications abroad in places that wouldn't allow different communication tools. VPNs is a common one used nowadays, although the military, the Army, and the Navy notably have other communication and encryption standard tools that they do utilize, but Tor was a good all-around tool. But like any anonymity tools, you can't have it be 100% anonymity and control it. So the military, to a certain degree, lost control, to a certain degree, never had full control, and up until 2014, Tor was basically, did I say chore? I meant Tor, T-O-R, was basically impenetrable, at least so we thought. However, started having issues with relays and nodes back then, people being able to redirect web traffic, and that's a big thing. Then when the FBI started pumping in malware and other malicious software on some of these relays and on some of these exit nodes, and most notably the exit nodes, because you're encrypted as you go through and you're basically invisible because of the way it bounces your traffic, and you've probably seen that. You can see how it works right here roughly. However, if you have access to the exit node, then it's going to know exactly who came out, and that's really what they're looking for. But when they broke into Tor in 2014, they found a bunch of .onion sites, a bunch of dark web sites. Those holes were patched. Tor Network got together with a bunch of people who are pushing relays on their computers and on their servers, and they overwhelmed the FBI, and the FBI basically fell apart as far as their investigation. Well, in 2018, they said, we don't have the manpower to take on Tor, but what about this malicious software? Well, that worked scraping some data. It's the same scrapers they utilize for databases, which I talk about when going ghost and getting your information out of databases. They use that, but they use it on Tor. That's a problem. Now, looking over here, the next thing in 2020, when no one was paying attention, because that judge says, you know what, you can entrap people online because we don't have the same level of laws, then another judge, a federal judge, because these cases always go federal, and there was no challenges really to the 4th Circuit ruling, so a federal judge came out and said, you know what, if it's okay that you utilize malware and malicious software, then it is okay if you dox any relay or exit node, provided that information stays in a government database. So they started creating a government database of all the people they could find who utilize Tor as far as relay and exit nodes, so anybody who creates their own nodes. Now at that point, they allegedly were not keeping databases of users because they couldn't figure out users. Then in later 2020, they came out and said they were keeping logs of users. Then it came out that that was debunked, but the FBI is setting up actively honeypots on all exit relays. Now, why are they doing this? Well, because the malicious stuff on the dark web, and there's a lot of things that are going on the dark web, so they use that as the auspice of to take your freedoms and to try to track you. Now, do they have logs and lists of people utilizing Tor? Probably not, and that's been debunked multiple times, and the FBI has came out and said, look, we don't have, they did the Freedom of Information Act, and they had to prove they didn't have anything, which is great, but they are collecting data on people who have relays, which unfortunately is creating Tor users to not want to participate on that front. So while Tor has millions and millions of active users, not a lot of people actually want to participate, and we've seen a dwindling number in people who want to participate in the project because the FBI's fear tactics are starting to work. And they came out and said, look, guilty till proven innocent, wrong place, wrong time. And so we've seen some people get attacked who maybe they shouldn't have. Now, notably, Tor is used on a positive front for things like crypto and so many other anonymous endeavors that you can utilize. And the government really has no right to track your traffic. However, they claim they do, and they're going to do it regardless. So it's something that you need to keep in mind when you're utilizing Tor. Now, is there a better solution to Tor? No, you could just beef up your security. So I use VirtualBox and I use Linux in the VirtualBox. So I will take my actual machine, right, and I will use VirtualBox on the machine. So that's the first barrier. I'll also use a VPN, and I've done multiple tutorials, most notably my recent tier list videos on the best VPNs and a bunch of other tools. If you haven't checked those out, go check them out. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Put out new content here on Privacy X all the time. But so you've got your VirtualBox, you've got your VPN. Then on your VirtualBox, you're gonna have two open, which I did a tutorial. So if you haven't seen my VirtualBox tutorial, check that out because I show you exactly how I install it and give you a tutorial of me using it. But what I do there is I have the actual workstation and I have the initial launch. So basically you go from your computer, you launch VirtualBox, then you launch a workstation, so it's a daisy chain. I have a VPN, so my local ISP doesn't know what I logged onto, and then I log into Tor or whatever else I want to. Then I go to the dark web, usually like the dark web wiki is where I'll start. And then you're off to the races. You just pretty much go wherever you want in the dark web. A huge percentage of the internet is on the dark web. A lot of people are stuck in this bubble of like 10 to 15 mainstream sites, social media, and apps that lock you in. But a huge portion of the internet, and I recommend legally and you know, take your own precautions, but the best stuff on the internet, as far as like knowledge and things you can learn, and I'm talking legal stuff. I don't like the whole drug thing. I've never done a drug in my life other than, you know, alcohol. Alcohol considers a drug. I'm not a drinker, but I have I've had drinks. I've definitely drank alcohol in my life is what I'm saying. But I've literally never done a drug in my entire life. I don't like the sale of drugs. If other people want to do it, I don't tread on other people's freedoms, but it's not for me. Obviously, the child trafficking is a no-go, and I hope and that's the moral dilemma. I want the child traffickers and these creepy pedophiles and these weirdos to get caught, and unfortunately, they do hang out in some of these places, but I don't want them to bring down the whole system. So it's kind of finding that happy medium. You know, as a father of 4 kids, obviously, I can't even imagine what some of these parents are going through. So helping with that, I get it. The problem with the government, it would be nice if we could actually trust the FBI, because imagine if they were actually just like, no, we're going after these. So many people like me and so many other privacy advocates would help them out. But it can never be that. They always gotta, you give them an inch, they take 45 miles. And that's the fundamental problem. And that's why you have to take a stand. Also, nothing they've ever done on these has ever solved any cases. That's the other problem. They're always trying to collect data and do this stuff, but they always drop the ball. It never solves any cases. They haven't stopped anything notably. And if they did, they would come out and plaster it all over the media till the end of time. But they haven't, because they can't, because they don't have any idea what they're doing other than collecting data on exit relays. And then who are they taking down? I mean, they took down the guy from Silk Road, Dread Pirate Roberts. Other than that, who are they taking down? Very few people. There's been a handful, but very few people. And this is the thing. And who have they taken down in these child rings? A handful, very few. I mean, we've seen this most notably with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. They literally prosecuted her. I'm not going to get into how things work with you guys, but I think we know that she wasn't right. So Epstein, of course, but that entire list, now they sealed all the files. And this is why nobody trusts the government. They prosecute Maxwell. Okay, that should be the tip of the spear. No, that's it. That's it. What about everyone else that was? No, we can't. We couldn't imagine prosecuting the powerful elites. We're just going to let Maxine be the fall guy. And then that's it. That's it. We're going to seal the files. It's kind of like the VAX. They wanted to seal the files for 75 years on a test drug. And now they want to see, I mean, they sealed the assassination of JFK for what? 50 years? 80 years? 70 years? There's a glaring reason why nobody trusts the government ever, and you never should. Why would you? They're con men and women across the board. So this is something you want to keep in mind. Now, utilizing this and making sure your ISP is not connected directly to you, your location, and where you live. So when I talk about ghosting, that is one of the most important. A lot of people think they're anonymous. I've never had internet service in my name. And I teach this to some of my clients who are breaking this down on their home routers and the internet. But you should never have internet service in your own name. And there's a lot of ways to do this. Companies, one, depend on who your internet provider is. I've literally, well, I gotta be careful of what I say on video. Anyway, yeah, I just don't have internet in your name. There's a lot of ways to do it. If you, if you go through my Ghost program, obviously I can show you how to do it. But also just learn, don't ever have internet in your name. That is the biggest downfall, because we're going into a society where you're guilty until proven innocent. And that's a problem, because let's say me and you are neighbors. I can hack in, I've got people on my team who can hack into your house in moments. I could hack into most of your houses, but I've got people on my team who are world-class hackers. Now, what we do, there's black hat, a white hat, gray hat. There's good and there's evil. We don't do anything malicious. We don't do anything evil. We do pen testing and things like that. The crazy thing is, if you were to send packets, like your neighbor's house, like everyone's got, I got a password on my Wi-Fi. That's cute. And the fact is, the things that are possible now, Google accidentally hacked hundreds of Wi-Fi that were backed up by passwords by accident because of the strength of the routers they were utilizing and the way that their internet is built into those goofy cars they drive around with, those supersonic cameras that can dang near see through your walls. Some of them have heat signatures where they can see through your walls. They can't like see like x-ray vision, but they heat mapping. So it's crazy the technology's out there. And so if I were to send some packets over to your house that had some malicious stuff, which I would never do, I think it's sick, the stuff that people do. But let's just say somebody did that, you would have to prove it's not yours. You literally have the burden of proof. That's what I'm talking about. You need to distance yourself. The malicious stuff. We recently saw Tim Pool, a popular YouTuber who I watch from time to time, get swatted the other day. They called the cop. He had Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a very polarizing political figure, on his show the day before. Now swatting is a very illegal felony, and it should be, and these people should go to jail. The FBI told Tim Pool, I can't tell you how we're going to find them, but we're going to find them. Oh, I know how you're going to find them. I can tell you how they're going to find them, Tim Pool. There's 3 ways they find them. And yes, the 3 ways, none of them are legal for you or me, but the FBI, there's 3 methods they can find them. Does it break the Constitution? Yeah. Does it break rights that we're supposedly have, whether it's telecommunication rights, wink, wink, whether it's geo-tracking, whether it's, what they're trying to do is utilize the internet as a wild, wild west when it benefits them, and so utilize these technological gadgets. There's a lot of things they could do, but he got swatted. Tim Pool's address shouldn't be publicly available. If he was a ghost like he should be, people in his situation, you see this with Roman Atwood, recently you've seen this with Tim Pool, and there's a bunch of other YouTubers who've been doxxed, who've been swatted, who've been threatened to be killed. Roman Atwood had to leave YouTube for a year because of all the death threats, and he had to get the FBI involved. He had a whole team of FBI agents trying to figure out who was trying to kill him. One of the most popular vloggers in the world, or at least he was. He took a year off YouTube last year. He's back now, and I wish him and his family the best, but the stuff shouldn't be publicly available. I can find Roman Atwood moved, and I hate to say it, but his address is out there again. He didn't do it properly. I could find Roman Atwood's house in 10 minutes. I would never share that information. I would never dox anybody. Well, that's not true. If somebody came after me, I absolutely would, to be honest with you, because it'd be so easy for me. I have all the databases. I have all the technology to do it. But these are the things you guys need to take in mind. So Tor is not the end-all, be-all, and they're waging war on Tor. And so you need to keep that in mind. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Do I still use Tor? Yeah, but I use it in the fashion I talked to you guys about. And also, I don't do anything illegal. But the most important thing is locking down your home system, locking down your home router, locking down your home Wi-Fi, locking down your home Ethernet connections. Are you utilizing Faraday boxes around your Wi-Fi? Is your outside boxes locked down? Does anybody have access to be able to trip your power, to trip your router? Does anybody have access to be able to splice in? Does anybody have access to be able to brute force into your password? What type of encryption are you using on your router itself? It's at the root The United States has a big problem with band-aiding everything, but you need to stay at the root. The root is where it's at. Anyway, guys, appreciate you checking this out. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, put out new content all the time. Check out the Ghost program down below. Turn you guys into ghosts so you quit having to deal with this stuff. You're seeing it on Tor. You're seeing it with the United States government. We're seeing it with crypto. We're seeing it with all these things. And the problem is it keeps getting worse. They keep coming at you. So, but I do want to clarify, I still use Tor. I love Tor. I don't think it's any more vulnerable than it ever was, but the only difference is now the government is allowed to maliciously get your data and then use it against you. I don't do anything illegal on Tor, so I'm fine with it. I don't do anything illegal on the dark web. And I will tell you, most things on the dark web are not illegal, are not scandalous. Unfortunately, though, some people have kind of given it a bad rep for everyone. It's kind of like boxing. You know, one boxer dies, people are like, oh, it's brutality and gladiator. No, dude, it's boxing. It's a sport. And it's unfortunate somebody dies, but they try to demonize the whole sport. We've seen it with UFC, we've seen it with boxing. One person tries to demonize it for everyone. It's unfortunate. Nobody wants anybody to go through these things. Nobody wants the child trafficking. Nobody wants this stuff. But also, at some point, we can't all just live in bubbles and have the government control us. You need to understand that's their end goal. So, appreciate you checking this out. Go all in. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.